Fidele veniamur.
Hi, welcome to A Catholic Point of View. My name is John Vining, and my co host is Steve Spencer, where we're going to look at faith, life, and politics through a Catholic point of view. But for our first episode, we would really like to get into why we're doing this, who we are, what is our background. So I'll start a little bit with myself, and then my co host will chime in. I started out being raised in the church. I had a very, very good family down in Louisiana. And it was a normal childhood. It was a stable childhood. Both my parents, they never divorced. My father has gone away. They provided a lot of stability. So I have two other siblings, and we were all raised in church. And even to this day, we are all in church.
Yes.
You know, my sister is a practiced Christian. My brother is a practicing Christian. I'm a practicing Christian. Even though I'm a Catholic, I'm a practicing Christian. But anyway, so from a little bitty Baptist church, Western Hills Baptist Church was actually
Where was that at?
Shreveport, Louisiana.
Shreveport.
Shreveport. So a very long time ago, it was a close knit church.
Yeah.
It was very homey. The most we ever had was like 200 people. That was probably our max that we had.
Gotcha.
So, it started as a mission plant.
Sometimes small churches are the best anyway.
Yeah. Well, what was the neat thing about that was that my grandparents went there.
Sure.
I went there. I was in the nursery. I still have a friend to this day that we were
Still goes there?
no, no, no. It's not much of a church now, I don't think.
Okay.
I had a hard time getting the certificate of my baptism for the Catholic Church.
Gotcha.
But I still have a friend. We were in the nursery together, and
Okay.
she still lives in Shreveport. Shout out to Charla. God bless you. So it was very homey. It was very nice. It was very nice. I'm very blessed, extremely blessed. So I was brought up in the Baptist faith, and I went through church Sundays,
Sure.
Wednesdays, back to Sunday night sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time we were pretty faithful. We would always have a Sunday. Even when I didn't feel like it. I would wake up and it would be a Sunday morning, and they would have Lost in Space
Oh.
on TV,
Gotcha.
and I would
Yes.
want to stay there and watch the reruns of Lost in Space. Doctor Smith,
Sure.
robot,
Yes.
right?
And robot, yes.
It seemed like every good program and every good movie came on Sunday mornings. I would look at the TV
Mhm.
guide. That's when we had paper TV guides.
Yes.
And I would look at that. But still, I was dragged to church. But I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that my parents uh, would talk about the faith to me, my mother particularly.
Yes.
I'm so thankful that we went.
And you ended up going to seminary as well, right?
Oh, I did. So here, I'm coming out of high school, trying to figure out what I want to do, and I have a couple of years of college, and I get married, and then all of a sudden, I just hear this voice, "Go to seminary,"
Okay.
and I'm like, "What?" I want you to go to seminary. Just that conscious voice.
Sure.
It's not like it came out of a thundercloud. All right, there wasn't a thundercloud, but it was this voice. So it was go to seminary. Well, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what to do. So I found out that the Baptists have this director of missions,
Gotcha.
and Jeff Cheatham, I believe he's passed on now, but Jeff Cheatham was the director of this of the mission, the director of missions, which means he coordinates all the Baptist churches in the association. And the association around here, I think, is called the River Valley. So I went to him and I said, "Mr. Cheatham, I don't know what this means, but I feel like God's calling me to seminary." And he looked at me and he said, "Have you ever thought of youth ministry?" I'm like, "What? What? Yeah, working with kids." I said, "No, but okay." Oh,
That might be a good thing.
yeah. And he also said there's also a little class on the interperiod between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Oh, why don't you come down here and take these courses? So I did, and I'm learning a lot of things. And
I
this
bet you learned a lot of stuff. Yes.
what I learned freaked me out because I was so used to the Bible, and when I thought there was any kind of alteration at any point in any word or any syllable, uh, my
You'd call
bedrock
him
of my
out.
faith was just shook it.
Gotcha.
So I did learn some things. I remember there was a book that they had, and it was by Metzger, and it was the transmission, the corruption, and the restoration of the New Testament. And I was like, what corruption? What restoration? What are you talking about? So I did get some interesting things
I
out
can
of
imagine.
yeah, out
Yes,
of the
I
way.
can
It
only
was a shock.
imagine.
It was a
Yes.
shock, because
Yes.
you get this idea that the Bible just fell down from the sky. It's God's word. Man is sinful, and this is all you can trust.
Hmm.
And then you start digging back into how did I get this? Where did it
Yeah.
come from? What?
Yes, that's
So
right.
anyway, so I started serving in youth ministry, and I remember my first stint was Hector First Baptist.
Okay.
You know,
Hector First Baptist.
Hector First Baptist was my first stint.
Yeah.
My former Sunday school teacher had taken a part-time pastor job there,
Okay.
and he brought me on. The pay was abominable,
It always is.
but at the
You
time,
have to be called
at,
to
at,
work for the church.
yeah,
Yes.
at the time I had another job, and so I would try to manage that. So I went through the faith. I went from a couple of different churches here and there. I get lost when it comes to that,
Sure.
but I was ordained. I
Gotcha.
was first licensed in the year 2000.
Okay.
Then I was ordained, I believe, in 2001 or
Now
2002.
wait a minute. You said you say you converted to Catholicism about 2006?
2006.
So you were ordained in 2000,
Licensed in 2000,
yeah,
ordained around 2001 or 2002.
and then just a few years later, you're going. You know what?
Sea change.
I'm kind
Yeah.
of have some questions.
God snatched me. But it was really funny, though.
Yeah,
It wasn't until I completed seminary that God called me into the church.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't even think about it till you mentioned that.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
really I didn't even make the
He had a
connection.
plan. See,
He
had
did
a
have a
plan.
plan.
Yeah,
He had a
and you
plan.
listened, which
And
is
I
awesome.
listened. Yes, yes. Because when you start serving in a church, you're just a sponge, and you're listening to everybody, and you're just soaking everything up. Uh, but at the same time, I was like, this is confusing. These people are saying things to me I cannot believe. Uh, I'm not going to denigrate anybody,
Yeah.
but it
But
was
you've had questions.
but it was an eye-opening experience working in the churches because I worked at it from the other side. I didn't work at it from I'm on the pew.
Now, I'm going to tell y'all something that's going to make this even more interesting. I've known John since the 1980s. So, but kind of from a distance. But we ran across each other all the time since the probably about mid 80s, about 86, 87. So, all this is happening. We've known each other that long. To find ourselves here together doing this podcast, pretty amazing.
It is amazing because when I wasn't Catholic, I just thought, man, Steve, you're just wrong, but I just don't know how to tell you.
I get that. I
I
get that quite often, matter of fact.
I just don't. But you were so open and you were so charitable with me that I never felt threatened when I talked to you.
Good.
You
Good.
would
I'm glad.
you would absolutely sit down and you would kind of calmly explain a few things, and then I would listen a little bit, but yeah, I've just put it in the back of my mind.
Yes.
But it was really interesting because you had friendships with Buddhist and
Buddhists,
y-
Wiccans,
y- yeah,
Buddhists, Baptists, Church of Christ,
everybody,
everybody,
everybody. Yeah.
everybody.
And here I'm this Baptist faith and message kid. But anyway, I did serve and I did see an ugly side of ministry. But it's man-made. But I do believe that
Yes, man-made.
I do believe that the Catholic Church, because it's hierarchical, because there's more structure, um, a lot of the problems that I experienced as a minister in the Protestantism and in Baptism, it just disappeared because I don't have those problems because there is a structure and an authority there.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be fighting over carpet or chandeliers.
No,
There wouldn't
no.
be fighting over I need to build a gymnasium for a bunch of kids or a place downtown.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen because you have a priest, you have a bishop,
Yes.
you have a chain of command.
That's right.
So there are a lot of strengths to Catholicism as far as ministry goes.
That's right.
The catch is you basically must be a priest and celibate. And
That's right.
here I was, married man, and I had a beautiful daughter at the time.
Sure.
My son was born in 2003. My daughter was born in 94.
Yes.
So,
I even
you,
came to your place. I
yes,
mean,
yes,
this is
yes.
I'm telling you, this is everything works out, and it's just weird. Go ahead.
Right, right. So, what made me change? What made me become a Catholic? That's what I get all the time.
There you go. Yeah.
What made me change? Circumstance. It was really circumstance. First, I was restless. I'm serving in these churches, and I'm doing these things, and I'm doing the best I can. And I have wonderful relationships with the kids that I had in the youth departments, and I love them dearly, and I would do anything for them, and they know that. Hopefully, they know that. Doug, if you're watching, I'd do anything for you. Rob, you are. But there was problems, and so I was thinking maybe this is not right. Maybe the structure's not right. Maybe I need to go start my own church. What do I need to believe? If I'm going to start a church
Yes.
out of scratch, I got to believe something. So I
Mhm.
started looking at it, and it was just like that. No, just God was saying, no, don't do that. The tipping point came. The school system that I would have to send my daughter to was poor. It was on academic distress. I had had her in a Presbyterian school. It shut down. I'd had her in a non-denominational Christian school. It closed its doors. So I was left with either putting my daughter in a Pentecostal fundamental school or the Catholic school or the public school that was in bad shape. It was a dilemma. I didn't know. Well, at first, I didn't even go to the Catholic school. I didn't even entertain the Catholic one.
Of course.
That was the last on my list. So I went to the fundamentalist school. And the reason why I say it's fundamental is because not a lot of people do this. But as I was doing the application, they handed me a slip of paper, and it literally said, and I'm not going to name the school. I don't even know if it exists anymore. And it literally said, I will side with my teachers over my daughter.
Hmm.
I thought it was very strange. I'm paraphrasing because it's been a few years since I've seen that. But it was basically that I was going to side with the faculty and stuff. And I thought, well, that's odd because I've never had that presented to me. So I was offended by it. So I said, let's go talk to the Catholics. Let's see what happens. So I walk in, and I'm scared to death because I'm looking and like there's a statue of Mary. Oh my gosh!
It's probably looking
know,
down on you like,
oh my gosh! There are graven images in my presence. So I'm in there, and I'm just like, oh, this is just terrible. Oddly enough, there was a sense of peace.
mhm.
Oddly enough, you still felt like, even though I had the heebie-jeebies, I still felt like I was walking on holy ground. I met with the school superintendent. She wasn't even Catholic at all. So I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank
Mhm.
God. You're
I'll
not
get the
Catholic.
straight. I'll get
Yeah,
the straight
yeah.
poop now.
Yeah. You're not, you're not, you're not Catholic.
Uh-huh.
And what are you, lady? And so anyway, she was Presbyterian.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. They're strong Calvinists, and we Baptists, we're weak Calvinists. We're moderate Calvinists. So I can handle this. So anyway, they asked me if my daughter could participate in mass because they had it.
Yes.
I can't remember
Daily.
if it's
Every day.
it was either every day or 2 or 3 times a
Oh,
week.
it's every day. It still is every day
Yeah.
at St. John's,
And so I was like,
as far as I know.
oh, okay. But that caused me to ask questions.
Sure.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to send my daughter, and she's going to have to participate in this. What is this devilry they're asking her to? I
Yes.
just want to have her.
What are they going to ask her to
Yeah.
believe in?
Yeah. What is
Okay.
this? What is this graven image and stuff? Okay.
Yes.
So I went up to the priest, and his name was Father Paulo. I do not know if he's alive, but he would be in his 90s if he's still alive. He retired, and he was in California last I heard. Wonderful aura. You could feel it. You could
yeah.
feel the good spirit in him. I went to him, and I am a bit of a theologue.
Yeah.
I have an intellectual bent.
That's fine.
I dig and I search and I research and everything.
Thank heaven.
So
Literally.
I
I
was
mean
like,
that
I was going to
literally.
grill him. I'm like,
Yeah.
I am going to grill this priest. And I went up to him and I said, Father Paulo, will you explain this Catholic teaching to me? And he just looked at me and he said, here's a book.
That sounds about
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that they'll just generally hand you a
So
book.
he handed me a book. O- Okay, Father. I went
Uh-huh.
home. I started going through this, and I'm like, eh, makes sense.
Mhm.
History,
Logical.
I can see that. That connects.
Yeah.
Oh, that explains this better than what I believe. So I'm starting to see the logic behind it. I'm
Gotcha.
starting to see why they have things, but I have more questions, and I'm really, really wanting him to answer. Father
Mhm.
Paulo, what about this teaching? Here's your book. I think I have three books.
Uh-huh.
I think I
That he
still have.
gave you?
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
have
okay.
like the three books. One of them was like a really comprehensive one. They went through all kinds of Catholic
Oh,
doctrine
oh
and
yeah.
history.
Oh
That was the
yeah.
first one he gave me.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so so I started reading this. My congregation, because I was serving as a Baptist youth pastor, my congregation forgave me for taking my daughter 20 miles north to this school because they realized that they understood I didn't want my child
In public school.
in public school, but I know it probably upset a few,
I'm sure. I'm
you
sure.
know. So there were
You're
rumblings.
you're giving into the cult.
I know
Yeah.
that yeah, I was given into the cult, but I was just doing what was best for my family,
Sure. Of
you know.
course.
And so God started working on my heart. I started learning more, and then I think it was about 2004. He is deceased now, but he was very influential. His name was Ken Easley, and he taught at Mid America Seminary um, there in Memphis. And he had come to do a winter Bible study because Baptists love to have winter Bible study. So he came in to do winter Bible study, and I listened, and I got to talk to him, befriend him, kind,
Hmm.
intellectual, sweet man. And I told him, I said, Doc, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I feel so unsettled. I don't feel that these beliefs and the things that I have are right. And I don't know what to do. So he just prayed. You know, he
Hmm.
prayed. Um, well, anyway, like I said, I had made a few
Maybe
enemies.
his prayers worked because
Yeah,
he
yeah,
probably prayed to God that he would
right.
send you the answers.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, you know, the church and I parted ways. I moved back to Russellville, and now it's time to start over. And I was adamant I was not going to go back to a Baptist church. I was hurt.
Yes.
I was hurt. I was very hurt. But I'm not making a decision of what I believe on hurt. I'm
Yeah.
not like that.
Good. Good.
I'm not like that. I'm not going to use my heart to, you know, oh my goodness,
And so many people do.
this this
Oh,
this person,
so
right?
many people do.
Right. This person bothered me,
Yeah.
and
So I'm not going to go to
I'm
that
not gonna
church.
go. And all of Christianity is just a bunch of bunk, and I don't understand it. And get away from me. I want to live my life, you know, as short as it is. I didn't do any of that. I didn't do any
Good.
of that. I came back, and I was like, God, what do I do? What do I do? So I started trying to get work, and I felt God calling. And my wife at the time, she wanted to. My voice. My wife at the time wanted to return to one of the local postmodern churches. I'm not going to name the name.
Okay.
Okay. And she wanted to go to that. And so we went, but I was still restless. And so what happened was I started to uh, go to other churches. I wanted to try other churches out, but I still went with her.
Yes, I understand.
You know, I still went with her. So I
Sure.
started with the Methodist because right before I moved, it was looking like I was probably going to move right into Methodism, get a church. They were talking about guys thinking about appointing me to a church, a small church.
Wow.
And, you know, I'd gone through a lot of their things because I'd
Hmm.
befriended a pastor there. And so I was in constant contact with him when I left and moved away. So anyway, I turned down, they couldn't have the opening. It wasn't open just yet. And so they said, well, how about a youth ministry, a Methodist youth ministry? And it was in Arkadelphia. And I turned it down. I
Hmm.
said, no, we had a difficult move. My kids are already set. And this is in 2005. So my kids are set. Um, and I'm like, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's a horrible move. And I just can't do this. So I turned that down. But at the same time, I went to St. John's and I just sat in there. I went to some masses
Hmm.
in Northeast Arkansas. So let me go in. And I sat down and I wasn't sure what they did. I still wasn't familiar with this.
Sure.
I didn't know hardly anything. I knew a little bit, but I looked at the cross hanging there, and it's this skinny Jesus. If you've ever seen it, I know you've seen it over St.
Yes.
John. It's kind of a
Yes.
skinny,
Yes.
emaciated looking Jesus
Yes.
that they had up there. And I just heard this still, small, conscious voice. You know, you have a conscious voice.
Sure. Oh,
You
yes.
remember Magnum PI?
Oh, yeah.
When Magnum PI is always talking, I know what you're thinking, and he would always do
Yes.
that, the voice in his head.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Not,
Sure. Oh, yeah.
these urgings, these feelings, these thoughts that are coming in my head.
That's right.
And anyway, it said, you're home. It
Wow.
said, you're home.
Wow.
And I was like, really? Wow.
That was unexpected.
Yeah, it was
It's like,
unexpected. And
I
I
have
felt,
found that God does that
I,
quite often.
yeah.
Unexpected stuff. He does it on his own time.
And I felt at peace. And
Yeah.
I felt at peace. But my wife at the time was not Catholic. She was adamantly against
Yes. Yes.
it. As far as that, I
Yes.
had built a reputation as a savvy Protestant minister.
That's right. You were. We used to
Yeah.
always call you the savvy
And
Protestant minister.
so this was walking away from what I had been training and doing.
Uh-huh.
But I walked away out of conscience.
Yes.
I learned some things, and yeah, I could have taken a job as a pastor.
Sure.
I could be a pastor right now. I could be a pastor probably raking in $82,000 or $100,000 a year if I would have played the game, if I would have been quiet, if I would have seared my conscience. I could not do that. I could not. And I did not. And I made a conscious choice not to do that. I thought, if I lose everything, that's okay. So that's where I was at.
Sounds kind of a little bit like Jonah. A little bit.
Yeah. You want to
know,
go the other way.
God goes,
Yeah.
I want you to over here. And you're kind of
Yeah.
going, well, I really
Pretty
don't want to
much.
go over there. I can actually
Yeah.
go over here and do
Yeah.
this. And that's just about as good.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
that was it. So I started.
Amos was that
learning.
way too, if you think about it.
The fig picker.
The
I love it.
sycamores and yeah.
Do y'all realize that in some translations you can kind of pick up on this, but you've got Amos speaking to power, and he's just this average
He's
guy,
trying. He's
and
trying to talk God out of going.
he tended figs. He's a fig picker. So God uses anybody, anywhere, any circumstance, any class,
At any time.
at any time.
Usually when you least expect it.
Exactly when you least expect it. So now I'm enrolling in 2005. I'm enrolling in RCIA.
Oh yeah.
I have the job where I'm off to do Wednesday evenings.
Matter of fact, I think you were in RCIA with my wife and me
That's
because
an interesting
she
thing,
was
yeah.
my wife also converted to Catholicism.
That was Monique.
I know, but I know Monique and you, but I think my wife and I were at that same RIC.
Well, if you did,
RIC
y'all didn't
class.
commit because she committed under, I believe, Monique, because there's a picture, long lost now. There's a picture of my wife and Christine and Father Ernie.
Yeah,
So I know they were paired up at least.
yeah.
Maybe this was a time that you came before.
It could have been. It could have been.
As far as that, I remember
Sometimes those things kind of get kind of hazy too.
John David followed me like a
Yeah.
year later.
Yeah.
The car salesman.
Yeah,
Yeah, he followed me a year later with he and his wife,
Yeah.
which I think is cool. I love John David. John David, shout out.
Hmm.
So anyway, I enrolled in RCIA and I started taking these classes. And my wife at the time was, she'd been through a lot. She had been with me through thick and thin in the ministry, and ministry is hard on your wives. It's very hard, very hard.
lots of time.
Yes, yeah, it's very hard. So I never pushed. I never pushed Catholicism on. She is my ex-wife. I never pushed my Catholicism on her. I never pushed my Catholicism even on my kids. The way my son became Catholic was after I went through the classes and I converted. And my first wife actually finally attended. She said, no, I'm never going to attend. She attended. And it meant the world to me that she attended
Sure.
when I came into
Yeah.
the church. But it was 3 years later, my son comes up and he just asked me. He's about 6 years old and he says, Daddy, I want to get baptized.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm Catholic. My wife is Protestant.
Mm-hmm.
Non-denominational, really. That's
Yes.
really her bent.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do? Maybe I can get him baptized in Catholicism. Maybe I can get her permission. So I
Mm-hmm.
asked my first wife. I said, is it okay with you if our son gets baptized in the church?
Gotcha.
I think it moved her because she attended his baptism. I actually got to do the readings. Father Ernie Hardesty did the pour over of my son. I've got some
Yes.
pictures and everything, but I think it really meant something. So things happened fast. Father Ernie was approached. Uh, my first wife and my daughter Bethany. He got them in kind of a Catholic class. It was the fastest track I've ever seen, to bring in somebody in the church. But that Father Ernie
Yeah,
was a priest, and that's his
sure.
prerogative. So they did join, and so then I had my full family
That's awesome.
that was
Yeah.
Catholic, and then it was it was within a year or so, I
Mm-hmm.
find myself working for a bishop in the
Mm-hmm.
state of
I
Louisiana
remember. I remember that.
for about 3 years. It was a beautiful time and a valuable time, but it was very surreal.
Yes.
So that's a little bit about me. I did go on to get a master's in pastoral counseling. I did that for my kids that I served as youth because I was very concerned with drugs, and I wanted to be able to counsel them the best I could. I'm very anti-drug, more so than many people. Um, I've seen it destroy way too many lives. So,
Very good.
what about you?
Well, uh, I have been a Catholic all my life. I was raised in a Catholic family. Our extended family was all Catholic. Um, Up until I was probably 7 or 8, I thought everybody was Catholic. When I saw a Baptist church, I actually thought that was just a different kind of Catholic church. So it was very interesting to me to growing up, and I went to a parochial school, a good Catholic school in North Little Rock called St. Patrick's. Um, Wonderful school, wonderful school. Uh, Very good teachers. Uh, there was back then there was still quite a few nuns teaching class, which there's not as many today. But I felt very fortunate. Uh, and I think we're getting close to running out of time. We've been here, and this is good though. This is good. Maybe I can talk a little about my background the next time we get together. I'll make it
Sure,
short and sweet
sure.
so that we can get on with who Jesus is, because
Right,
I'd much
right.
rather talk about Jesus than about me. So
Our next broadcast is going to be Who is Jesus? A lot of people have different ideas. People have fantastic tales. They denounce his divinity. We're going to go into some of those things,
yes,
and we hope you will join us. And we
sure,
will let you know. We have a channel, a Catholic Point of View, up on YouTube. We will have that running very soon to where you can like and subscribe if you wish. And we hope you'll join us next time. Thank
hope you
you.
enjoyed tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching.
And God bless.
God bless.
Fideles en viniamus.